I was just sharing kind of how I am going to be using it in my business. So my expectation for my team would be, or my person would be, to do about like 1,500 to 2,000 calls a week. And that gives us like enough calls, given the small market that we're in. Then we'll get through all our records in about 4 or 5 months, and then we'll start at the top again. Awesome. Thank you. All right. A little bit about myself, who I am. My name is Sharat Mehta. I live in Toronto, Canada. Happily married with 2 kids. Been vegan for past 4 years. And fun fact, I passed my road test on 3rd attempt in New York. I failed it twice, passed it on the 3rd attempt. The main reason why I just kept trying was my company was paying me. I had my job in Chicago after school. My company was paying me $5,000 if I moved on my own. So I just kept taking road tests, until I passed. And then I just basically, first time I drove was from New York to Chicago. So that was a fun drive for $5,000. Yeah. And I'm founder and CEO of REsimpli. I actively invest in Northwest Indiana. For anybody who's not familiar, it's a suburb of Chicago. I mean, practically a suburb of Chicago, but in Indiana. I would say about 30 to 45 minutes ride from downtown Chicago. I used to live in downtown Chicago. That's why I started investing in Northwest Indiana. And my office is about 30 minutes outside of Chicago. I have an office in Northwest Indiana for my property management company. I've completed over 750 deals. The vast majority of them came in 2010 through 13, 14 time period, when I was wholesaling a lot of properties to Australian investors that were buying a lot of properties in US because of the exchange rate benefit that they were getting at that point. I own about 50. I do about 20, 25 deals per year. I'm like really busy with REsimpli. We have about 8 properties under contract right now. And I do about like 20, 25 deals a year. That's kind of what my capacity is. I have a very lean team. My project manager in California and my lead manager in Philippines. And then I have an acquisition manager in Indiana. And I'm not very actively involved in my business. And I own about 50 rental properties. And I also own a property management company where we manage about 175 units, I think, at this point. The main reason for starting a property management company was the inefficiencies that I noticed with how my properties were being managed by the property management company that we were working with. And then I'm on a personal mission with REsimpli to help real estate investors close more deals with less software. And with the updates that we have coming up with this week, and I'm excited, we're going to move, take a big step in that direction. That's my family on the left, my wife and my kids. So that's a little bit background about myself. And for these calls that we do, at least for my business, this is how I look at my business as 4 pillars of real estate investing. You have the data, marketing, sales, and operations. So data would be list pulling, your list stacking, you're driving for dollars. So that's kind of how I segment that into the data part of the business. Marketing would be your outbound marketing, like direct mail, cold calling, SMS, and inbound, like paper lead, PPC, TV, radio. And then your sales would be, once you start getting the leads, how do you talk to the motivated sellers? Like, how do you convert more of those leads into deals? So that's how I look at the sales part of it. Operations would be everything that happens outside of those things. So it would be, your buyers management, your vendors, how to work with your vendors, your bookkeeping, your accounting side of all the admin part of the business. So, and then that's how we're trying to like run these mastermind calls, just to kind of stay around those 4 pillars. But moving forward, we had really great call last week with Joe from Need to Sell My House Fast. And moving forward, we're in touch with some other industry experts. So we'll start bringing some other people, just to add a little bit more diversity to these calls and have like different perspective of what other people are doing in their business, not just in single family. I mean, I just got off the phone with someone that we're trying to bring on the call. He is doing like co-living, in real estate investing. I thought that was a very interesting niche. So that's what we're trying to look into. So any questions on this before I kind of get into what today's topic is? And if you have any questions, you can please feel free to either unmute yourself or just put it in the chat. Either is fine. Sometimes I don't get to pay attention to the chat. So if you want to just unmute yourself and ask a question, please feel free to do that. And also, if you guys can have your camera on, that would be really great. If you can, if you're in a situation where you can have your camera on, that would be great. Just makes the call lot more interactive for me. I get to see your guys' faces, and makes a lot more fun for me. All right. So the call today is going to be how I am going to be using cold calling in my business. And again, by no means I'm an expert. So if you guys have any feedback on what I could do better, please let me know. This is going to be built on the 3.0 update that we're rolling out. So you guys will get a little bit of preview of what's coming and how I'm going to be using it in my business. But if you have any questions or feedback or suggestions, please let me know. But this is what, first of all, this is what the new list stacking design is going to look like. It's going to be a full page view. You can have your house type, bedrooms, bathrooms, estimated value, square feet, lot size, and your build that you can upload or add to a property. So it's a, instead of a pop-up in the existing design, this is what it's going to look like. And then you have a section for your comments, notes, and any communication that you're having with the lead. But for us, and then when we go live with this, we are going to be adding, so there's going to be 2 call scripts that will be added to all the accounts when we go live. And these are the ones that I use in my business. So, we go on appointments. We're not necessarily making offers over the phone. So we go on appointments. So this is the call script that we use. And this is what it's going to be added to everyone's account. But if you want to customize it, you can go ahead and customize. But this is kind of what we use in our business. And based on that, I made another call script for if your business is where you're cold calling someone and you just make an offer over the phone, then it looks very similar. Just the last part kind of changes, where instead of trying to schedule an appointment, you're basically making an offer. And I just put in like 60% of zero value. It's kind of what we use in our business. So you could just change it based on what your business needs are. And so going back to list stacking, you'll notice another thing that will be added in each of the properties is a link to just do a quick Google search. So you can just click right here, or pull up the property in Google, or you can click right here. It'll search the property in Zillow, so you can quickly see kind of what if the property has any Zillow information or not. So, all right. So as far as like doing how I am going to be using cold calling in my business is, start with a fitter. So let's say if I'm going to use this fitter, I'm going to use a different one. Phone number, yep. All right, so let's say if I have this list and I'm going to add phone numbers, phone type, valid phone number. Okay, so if I'm going to be using this list, then once I've stacked my list based on, so for us, what we're doing is we have a very simple marketing on direct mail. So I'll just cover about direct mail, and I shared in the Facebook group, we just got a property under contract from direct mail. We had a list of our absentee owners in our area was about 5,000 or 5,100 people. And after we cleaned up for any duplicate mailing addresses, we had about, I think, less than 3,000 people that own those 5,000 properties. So we sent a basic postcard, nothing fancy. It just basically said, hey, my name is Kathy. I'm interested in buying your property. If you're interested, give us a call or shoot us a text. And then I think we sent roughly about 3,000 postcards. We barely got 10 calls, but what's important is out of those 10 calls, we got one deal out of it, that a property that we're buying for about $36,000. It's already rented out for, I believe, $750, but it could be rented for about $1,200 or $1,300. So our goal would be, we were not able to look at the property from inside because the owner has had a really difficult time getting the property to be vacant. The tenant is a difficult tenant, and the owner lives in Illinois. So we sent, and this is somebody that we have been trying to get in touch with. We've cold called them, send them direct mail in the past, because we can track everything through our list stacking, how many times you've reached out to them and all the list and tags they're on. But we sent this mailer out. The person called back. He lived in Illinois. He said, hey, I just want to get rid of this property. And we offered 35. He said, no, he'll take 36. So we signed a contract. The property is worth about 130. We're budgeting, looks really great from outside, but we're figuring, okay, even if we need to spend about 30,000 into it, we still have a pretty decent margin. So even if we get, that one deal for the rest of the year from our direct mail, it more than paid for itself just with that one deal. So that's an important thing to keep in mind with direct mail. It's not to focus so much on the response rate. It's more, to focus on the conversion. So even if we got only like 10 calls, honestly, like not even 10. And then, but it was one person, like that's all you need, like one person to be interested. And then that's when you convert it. I mean, it's not going to happen every time where you get a call from someone and say, hey, I'm ready to sell. But it does happen, as long as you're being consistent with your marketing, it will happen where you'll get somebody that just says, hey, I'm interested. Again, that specific list was my absentee owners with 30% or more equity. And I did this in call about 3 or 4 weeks ago. So you're going to go back and see exactly the list that I pulled. It was basically like 4 or 5 cities, 30% equity plus unknown equity. Years of ownership was 5 years or unknown last sale date. That's it. There was no other filters. We didn't stack it for vacant. We didn't do anything else. It was just a simple absentee list. By just going absentee with high equity and unknown equity, it includes all other motivation pain points. So again, we're in a small market. So the more we niche down, the more we're going to lose on the number of prospects we can reach out to. So we went with a broad list, so to speak, on absentee. And now with the homeowner list, we're going to do the same postcard on the homeowner list. What we're going to do on the homeowner list, we're going to pull everybody that's a homeowner with 30% equity or unknown equity, and they have owned the property for at least 5 years or unknown last sale date with that homeowner list, because that's a pretty big list. We're going to stack it for vacant. That's it. So absentee and homeowner list will be the same. The only difference would be the homeowner list, we're going to stack it for vacant and then just try that list and see how it performs. So that's what we'll keep doing. But on the cold calling side of it, because cold calling isn't as expensive as direct mail, so we're going to use our entire list absentee as is. But for the homeowner list, we're not going to apply the filter of vacant. So we're going to use the entire list for the homeowners without applying any filter for it. So it'll just homeowner straight up, 30% more equity or unknown equity. It's really important to have the unknown equity, and I'll show you the reason why. Let me show you kind of, this was really interesting because we look at this data once we get a property under contract. Let me see if I can pull it up. So this was really interesting that I noticed on our list. Yeah, so this is how we track kind of how many times, what list they've been part of and what tags we've applied to them. And I noticed that this was on our unknown equity list. So it's really, if we were only doing 30% or more equity, we would have absolutely missed this homeowner. So, I mean, we had tried this. So this person has been our no equity, no loss. I mean, previously we used to separate it, but we don't do that anymore. We just put everything under absentee, whether they have, whether they have 30% equity or unknown equity, and they have 5 years or unknown last sale date. But if you notice, like, this was really interesting for us, was this person is on unknown equity and owned the property for 5+ years. And then when we previously put it, there was no equity that was available in PropStream and no last sale date. And if you look at like how many times we cold called them, we did direct mail and a whole bunch of other marketing, but then nothing from this person. And then in 15 days from the time the lead came in to the time, we made an offer and we have it in the contract at 36,000. So really important to use that. If you want to track it separately, you can totally do that. But at a minimum, I would include unknown equity and unknown last sale date, because we used to track it previously just to kind of see how, notice any difference, and it just made sense for us to keep doing it. So we don't track it separately, but if you're starting out or if you have a big market and then you want to kind of have really good KPIs on whether it's the 30% equity that's working, or it's the unknown equity, it's the 5 years ownership that's working, or it's the unknown ownership, then I would do that. But that's the list that worked for us really well. Okay. So for homeowners, for cold calling, we're going to use the exact same list of 5,000 people, but owners are about 3,000. But for the homeowners, it'll be the same list. We won't stack it for vacant. So we'll have about 25,000 people on that list for cold call. And this is basically what I would do. Just simply push them to select these people, push them to dial it. And then, if you are doing, let's say, an absentee list, and I would suggest kind of for your tracking purposes, if you're doing absentee, I mean, there's no limit to how many campaigns you can set up. So I would do that, where if you stack it and you have, let's say, my absentee with, unknown equity, and you can do that, assign it to somebody on your team. And if you want to clean it up for any property that's already on a campaign or lead, you can do that. Otherwise, just push it to, dialer, and then your properties are going to show up there, the ones that have a phone number. And then the goal at that point would be you just start dialing. So the goal for us, for my team member, would be to make about 300 to 350 calls. She's also helping me, with other stuff. So the goal would be with a single line dialer to make about 300 to 350 calls a day, and then schedule those for appointments. So we're not really making an offer unless, the seller wants to get an offer. The goal for us would be to schedule an appointment for us, because we're closing on everything. We're not wholesaling. So we close on everything, we have them and put them back on the market. But that would be the goal for us. So let's say if I wanted to go in like this list, so it'll show me the list of properties that I have not dialed yet. So I've not even dialed one time, or the properties that I've dialed at least one time. So if I want to go ahead and start dialing those, then it's going to ask me, okay, which script do you want to use for this specific, dial session? So make an offer, or make an appointment, or if you have any other scripts. I've talked to some investors where they have, different script for pre-probate. They have different script for driving for dollars, foreclosures, pre-foreclosure. So you can set it up depending on what list you're calling or what campaign do you have set up. And then also you could have a different voicemail that you could be dropping. So if you have, if you're calling a homeowner, that you could have a different voicemail be set up that you want to drop if they don't pick up. Or worse, if you're dialing somebody that's on a driving for dollar list or a probate list. So you could have unlimited number of voicemail, pre-recorded voicemails be set up, and then you can drop it off, if somebody doesn't pick up. And then depending on which phone numbers you're calling from, or if you're in multiple cities, multiple markets, then you might want to have different local area code phone numbers that you might want to call from. So you can have multiple phone numbers and select which ones you want to call from. And then you can choose between auto dialer or click to dial. So if it's auto dialer, you could just automatically dial the next person. Click to dial would be where you call someone, you load up the next contact, their information show up, then you click dial, and then it starts dialing. And then the other cool feature. Yep, go ahead.
So on the phone numbers, is that using up the minutes from the account the same way?
No, this is unlimited minutes. So think of it like a Mojo dialer where you just get unlimited minutes. You pay per seat and you get unlimited minutes.
And it is still $1 per number?
It's $2 per number, but it's unlimited minutes.
Okay.
But it'll be like, you'll basically be buying, like adding a seat, which is like $79 per person that you want to give access to. And it'll be unlimited minutes for that specific user. So it's not coming out of your the CRM minutes that you have.
Got it. So in the enterprise plan, you have a separate user that only does cold calling, or can any user on the enterprise plan do the cold call?
You could add anybody on your team to do cold calling. So if you want to, all you'll have to do is just go into manage user, and then just, let's say if I want to give Wonder Woman the access to the dialer, I just go and click on this access and then just enable it, and then that person will get access to the dialer and their name will show up. So when you're setting up a campaign, so once I do this, now that I've given this person the access, so once I go back to creating a campaign, now their name is going to show up. So if I do this, and if I'm pushing this to dialer, and now their name will show up right here. So only the people that you've given access to, you will be able to assign a campaign to.
So even if you're on the enterprise plan, it's still $79 per person?
Correct.
Okay.
So it's just, think of it like a Mojo dialer call to, so batch dialer that you use. So instead of that, it just paid into list stacking, and it's a two-way integration that we have built in.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So yeah, once you want to start dialing, you just go up right here, click call, and set up your script, and whether you want to use auto dial or click to dial, and then you can exclude certain records from dialing based on the phone type. So if you want to only dial mobile and you don't want to dial any landline or VoIP number, you can just select landline and VoIP. It will not pull up any record that has a landline or VoIP number. So if you have 1,000 records that you're calling through and only 100 of those have either mobile or other number, it will only filter through those 100 phone numbers. It will skip the other 900 from your calling. And then you can also skip based on a specific phone status. So if you want to skip any phone number that, for example, showed up as disconnected, any phone, and you can select multiple. If you want to skip any phone number that showed up at DNC, you can skip those. You can exclude those from your dialing. So when you start dialing, it will not even show you that record that you've selected as to be excluded from your dialing campaign right now. So once I do this, I'm going to uncheck this. So once everything looks good, you just go ahead and click continue. It's going to pop up this right here. And all your script is preloaded right here with all the information that you need. I mean, this is, you can update whoever is calling. So you can set up your own script and put your name and your company name. So we're leaving that as a placeholder. But if you notice, like it filled up the seller's name right here, it picked it up from here. It picked up the seller. If I go into the next property, this one is also under my name, but I'll pull up that specific name, whatever the seller name is. So I'll fill up that script and then also pull up all the property address. So any other information that you have for that specific property name, property address, you can set it up in the script and it's going to read, just based on whatever information you have available. And then this is a two-way integration between list stacking and leads. I mean, list stacking and dialer. So any tags as you're talking to the lead or any list that you update, any notes that you add are going to get updated in list stacking. Or if you have somebody working in your team that's updating the list stacking or that's updating your lead, list or tags or anything else, it's going to update that in the system in real time. So if I start dialing right here, so if I make this call, all right, my phone is switched off, so I might go into voicemail. I'm going to wait for it to go into voicemail. All right, so it went into voicemail. So I have it on airplane mode, but you can just, at that point, you can just do, left voicemail, for example. You can put any note. If you want to push it to a lead, you can push it directly from the dialer, and you can even set it up on a drip campaign if you wanted to do that. You can move a contact to, if you do DNC number, it's going to mark that number. It's going to add a status of DNC to that specific number. So you don't have to go in and update that phone number. If you do DNC contact, it would take that phone number, add that status of, update that phone number with DNC status. If you do DNC contact, all the phone numbers will be marked as DNC for that specific property. If you schedule a call, you can select the date and time for a follow-up call. This is already a lead, but if it were not, then you can move it to a lead. It'll ask you, you can push it to a lead and you can set it up on a drip campaign right from here. So as you push it to a lead, it will automatically be on a drip campaign for you. And then if the seller doesn't pick up, you can just say kept ringing or left voicemail. And if you want to leave any notes, this is a demo call note. And I can do this and I can just go call next property and it's going to automatically load up and then just start dialing without me having to click any button. And all the information for that property will get pulled up right here. So this is a different property, 8410 East Kennedy, Riverside Boulevard. We'll pull up that information, seller's name, property address, any other information that you have. So it went into voicemail. As soon as it goes into voicemail, you'll see this pop up. I can just click right here and then it's going to drop a voicemail and then pull up my, because you selected drop voicemail, it'll pull up the call results with already this selected. So you don't have to do anything. If you want to leave a note, you can do that. Now this is all grayed out, meaning there's no next property in this campaign to call. There's no other phone number in this campaign to call. So you can exit dialer and then we'll just keep track of how long you have been on this dialing session. So I've been 3 minutes and 28 seconds. So once I exit out, based on that, it's updating my call logs for me right here. It tells me total time I've been dialing and what's been my average call duration and what's been the time that I've actually been on call. So I might have my dialer open up for like 26 hours, but I've actually been on call for 7 minutes and 19 seconds in this case. So, and then when you come into campaign, if you had any scheduled calls that were due for today, it will automatically pull up here. You'll see a pop-up right here. These are the calls that you need to make today. So you don't have to go look for them in scheduled calls. It will automatically be pulled up right here saying today's call. So if they're due to me, it will just show up for me. If they have somebody else on my team that needs to make that call, it will show that person how many calls that they need to make. And if somebody calls you or texts you back on your cold calling phone number, it's going to show up in your inbox. So you can see who's called you back or who's texted you back. And then as you're looking at any scheduled calls, it will even tell you if you've received a reply or not. So if you have a call that you need to make but they've already texted you back, it'll say reply received yes. So this way, if you don't want to call them or text them based on the reply that you have, then you can skip them from calling. And this will be all your call logs of every single call that you made, incoming and outgoing. So you can kind of see what's happened with all the calls that you're making. And then you can apply some filters based on call duration, call result, assignee, campaign, and time period. So if I want to see all the calls that were like between 1 to 6 seconds, then you can just filter for that. I'll show you every single call where somebody called, and then it was just less than basically 1 to 6 second call. Okay, so that's how we are going to be using, again, in our business, absentee list, like I mentioned, and the homeowner list. Very, very simple filter. They either have 30% equity or unknown equity, and they've either owned the property for 5 years or longer, or the last sale date is not available. So that's what we're going to do for absentee, and that's what we're going to do for homeowner. When we're calling, we'll create separate campaigns for absentee and separate campaigns for homeowner, just so that for our purposes, we can kind of keep a track of, which campaign is converting best for us, where are we getting most of our leads and deals from, and then based on that, we can keep optimizing. It helps us on the other marketing channels. Any questions on this or anything, you guys? There's a lot of questions in. So Phil has a question, if I missed it, but is this a single line dialer or there's an option for triple line dialer? So with this initial version that we go live, we're only going live with a single line dialer, and then we'll be rolling out a triple line dialer in a few months once we go live with this, and just kind of make sure everything is working as expected. And if there's any use cases that we may have missed in our development, if there's anything else that we need to look into. Yeah, thank you, Andre. You already answered that. Will the number show up as spam like all the call tools number? Can we assign a name for the caller ID? Yes, Blaine, great question. You can assign a name for the phone number, but we will be doing a spam check for all the phone numbers. So when you go into the managed numbers, you'll notice that you'll start seeing additional options for leads, buyers, REsimpli dialer. So these numbers will also be going through weekly spam check that we have. Again, we don't guarantee that these numbers will come off spam, but you can come in here and you can check whether it's actually showing up as spam or not. Based on what we noticed, AT&T is the one that is the most aggressive with marking the phone number as spam, but they're also very quick to get back and take those numbers off spam. But then they keep going back and forth. Right now, our spam check that we do every week, about 6 to 7% of our numbers show up as spam. We'll remediate them, then we'll go down to like 4 or 5, then we'll come up to like 6, 7, sometimes we'll jump to 10. But then we check it every single week. We run your numbers through spam check, but just based on experience, it's AT&T is the one that's most aggressive in terms of booking number as spam. So before you ditch a number, just make sure you always come back here and check it. If it's showing up as spam. So, because we do that every single week for all the phone numbers that we have. So make sure you come in here and check the phone number. So you'll see this is updated once a week. So you'll see if you notice a phone number showing up as spam for 2-3 weeks consecutively, at that point, I might consider that, hey, maybe this number, and then you notice that number has very low connectivity, then at that point, I would give up that number and switch it with a different phone number. But the only downside would be if you made a bunch of calls from that number, if anybody calls on that number, it's just going to be a dead number at that point. So something to keep in mind. And then same thing on the vendor. So you'll notice we're going live with vendor management also, where you can, buy phone numbers for your vendors. So vendor management would be any contact that you have outside of your buyer, outside of your leads or buyers. So think of it like your title company, your contractor, your escrow company. So you can call them, text them, email them from the system moving forward when we go live, and you can manage your entire communication with your vendors all in the system. So you'll notice when we go live, you're going to see instead of contractors right now, it's going to say vendors. And this is what it's going to look like. So this is our title company, name of the company. You can add birthdays, you can add their contact information. If you want to track the information, 1099, how many deals you've done with that specific vendor. You can add tasks, you can add files, all the financials that you have, for that specific vendors, how much money you paid, how much money you received. Another update we'll be adding to the buyers and vendors section is when you're sending out email, you will actually be able to track all your email deliverability. So you can see this will become all clickable. So you can see, okay, I sent out 3 emails, but only 1 got delivered, which one got delivered. And then you can see out of, like these 2 are not actual real email addresses. I just made up when I was sending email. So only 1 got delivered. And then you can see of the ones that got delivered, how many people opened the emails, when was the last time they opened it, how many times they've opened the email, and then how many of those people actually clicked on email. And then you can filter based on that and do another email campaign to them. So if you have a buyers list that you've sent 10,000 emails to, and then 100 people clicked on the email, so then you can do another campaign. You can filter for those 100 people and then maybe call them or text them. So you'll have those options in buyers and vendors also. So if you go into buyers or vendors, you can filter based on specific email campaign. So I can do this, and then I can add a filter of everybody that clicked on the email. So I can see only one person clicked on the email, and then I can go in right here. There's going to be 2 additional tabs right here, email stats. So I can see all the campaigns that this person has been on me for email campaigns, and how many times this person opened, how many times this person clicked on the email, and when was the last time this person opened the email. So this will be for both buyers and vendors.
Right. Sure, I'll have the stats for the tech for SMS.
I'm sorry?
On the SMS, will we be able to see which buyers opened up the text or was delivered, or which ones wasn't delivered?
Yes, it will show you that. Yeah, so thank you for asking. So we'll have the same information for the SMS also. I don't have it tested in my account, but how many recipients, how many people the email was, text was sent to, how many of those got delivered and how many of those were not delivered. And you can go back and filter based on that. So let's say if you send out a text blast and you notice some text did not get delivered, so you can actually pull up that campaign, and then you can filter based on the ones that were not delivered, and then maybe you can send them an email instead, or call them and just make sure their phone number is valid.
I had a quick question, Sharad.
Yep.
For the buyers, we had to register that new phone number and we had to fill out that Google form. And there were like three or four questions on there that I had no idea how to answer. Like I was told by customer service to use your, I think, Plivio email, but then there were a couple other questions about like privacy or something else. I really didn't know how to answer it, so I'm not sure how that'll affect the registration.
Yeah, with the 10 DOC, it's honestly been like very difficult dealing with the cell phone carriers. But basically with the privacy policy, you just want to take your website, and then every website should have a privacy, and just include that as like text. Are you talking about toll-free number?
Yeah, the toll-free number.
Yeah.
The buyers for the bulk messaging.
Oh yeah, that process is fairly quick. It takes like 24 to 48 hours. So yeah, if you have any questions, just email support@REsimpli, and then just ask for Danielle to look into it, and then she can just tell you, hey, just use this based on kind of what we've seen succeed. Yeah, so that is for toll-free number. It's super easy process. Like I think the number goes through within 24 hours that they approve it for texting. Yeah, so that should not be. So 10 DOC is different from the toll-free texting. Yeah, so Blaine, sorry, to get back to your question. Yeah, if your number shows up as spam, make sure you're checking this on a weekly basis. And I would not immediately just get rid of the phone number. I would, if it's a number that you're like, hey, if it shows up as spam, I just want to get rid of it, do that. But the one thing to keep in mind with these phone numbers, the VoIP phone numbers, is when you buy them, these are the same phone numbers that are circulating between all different carriers, right? Twilio, Plivo, all these carriers, they all have the same pool of phone number. So if we get rid of one, Twilio is going to pick up, or other carrier is going to pick up. So it's not, if you buy a new number, just don't expect by default it's not going to be spam. With the way the industry is going, just expect that the number is going to show up as spam. And then I would come in, check every day. Like I check my leads phone number, once a week, just to make sure like we have one that's showing up as spam, but we don't use that number very much. But the other numbers, like our direct mail and the important numbers that we're actively using, we want to make sure those are not showing up as spam. And then we remediate those. So at least give us like a couple of weeks to run the same phone number through the spam check, couple of weeks, to see if we can get it off the spam. Like we have really good success rate on getting those numbers off spam. If for some reason it doesn't show up, and then you're noticing it's a number that you've heavily invested in, it's like some investors that are doing TV numbers, they have vanity phone numbers for TV, radio. If you have something like that, let us know, and then we can like talk to our carrier and see if we can do something to get that number off spam. But again, majority of the numbers do come off spam, but not guaranteed that they won't show up in spam again. So it's not that if they show up on spam once, they will always be on spam. And then it's not guaranteed if we get them off spam one time that they will always be off spam check. So, but again, with every single phone number that we have that shows up as spam, every single week we have a process to go through, remediate them, and then we update the status of them on a weekly basis. Just based on the experience, AT&T is the one that is most aggressive. So even if something shows up as spam, make sure you hover. I mean, these are our test numbers, so we don't run these through spam, but you just hover over here. If it says yes, it will, when you hover on it, it will actually tell you which cell phone carrier is marking it as spam. So again, based on experience, AT&T is the one that is majority with the spam shows up. Sorry, I hope I'm saying your name correctly. Quite. So do you want to unmute and like ask that question so I make sure I understand this correctly? How do I set up the dialing option?
Yes, sure. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Great. My name is Kwaje. Yes,
Kwaje.
I'm relatively new in this program. I just subscribed to it, and I'm still in the learning curve.
Yeah, so what you see, what I'm sharing, it's not going to be in your account, so don't be alarmed.
Okay.
Like this is going live on Saturday. Okay, so I'm just sharing, kind of doing a preview of what's coming. So you're not going to see these options of dialer and website in your account right now. It's going to show up in your account on Saturday when you log in, right? So
okay,
it doesn't show up in your account right now. Yeah, and we'll do other calls. We're going to do a couple of more calls this week just to kind of do a preview, but I was just sharing kind of how I am going to be using it in my business. So my expectation for my team would be, or my person would be, to do about like 1,500 to 2,000 calls a week. And that gives us like enough calls, given the small market that we're in. Then we'll get through all our records in about 4 or 5 months, and then we'll start at the top again. I mean, it's not like we have a huge number of properties that are getting added or removed. So we'll go through the entire, let's say it takes us 6 months. At 6 months time period, we'll buy the same list again, just make sure any new added get added. And then any properties that should be taken off because they've recently sold, we'll take them off, and then just start the same process again, and then just go through that same list from top to bottom, and then do that 6 months. So that's kind of how we look at it. Okay, if we want to have one person call for about 6 months.
So you're saying that currently with the current subscription that I have, it doesn't have option for dialing in.
You can dial leads, but not, this is what I'm showing is for prospecting. So you can go into leads. Again, mine is going to look different, but everybody's will look like this when we go live on Saturday, but mine looks different right now. But you will have the option, you have the option to start calling the leads. So you can go in and you can start calling the leads right now from this system. Okay. So what I'm showing is like your prospects that you're trying to convert into leads.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, sure. All right. Plain also, is something like this coming for the disposal communication or the disposal difficult? Plain, if you want to unmute and kind of ask specific questions, I can make sure I address it properly. But for the dispo side, you are going to notice this additional wholesale pipeline is going to be added. In addition to the active leads pipeline that we have. So notice there's not going to be assigned to buyer anymore. So if you have a property under contract, if you're wholesaling it, it's going to automatically start showing up on your wholesale pipeline. And then this is where you would manage your disposition side of the business. So you can go in right here, and this will show you the disposition side of the business. Basically, like, if you're wholesaling a property and if you decide, hey, I don't want to wholesale this anymore, I'm actually going to keep it as a rental. We'll say, hey, if you remove it from wholesale, it's not going to be in your wholesale pipeline anymore. It's just going to be a lead. So you'll see it's gone from here, but that property still shows up right here in my list as a rental. But if I decide something that I bought as a rental and I thought, somebody's offering me $50,000 over what I purchased this property for, what I'm going to pay for this property, you know what? I'm going to wholesale and I'm going to double close in this property. You just select that, and when you go back into the wholesale pipeline, that property is going to 4816 carry is going to show up right here. And then this is where you would manage your disposition side of the business. So any buyers that you have that you're wholesaling the property to, or depending on what stage the property is on the dispo, whether it's a new contract, you're marketing to buyers, showing to buyers, evaluating offers, accepted offer, and clear to close will be on your dispo side. But you can call, text, and do all of that on the dispo side in this section also.
Will the tabs be customizable? So like I can change.
Not on this right now because you have some KPIs figured. So if you move it to marketing to buyers, it's going to ask you some questions. But depending on like once we go live, depending on the feedback that we get, we may make it customizable. But the lead statuses are going to be customizable now. So if you notice, like it says, you know, I mean, these are all custom, less than 30 days. I can go ahead and change it to, you know, calling and texting, for example, and that's what going to be my lead status for that. And then that's where it's going to be updated throughout the system, whatever you're using the status, like in your app also, and your global task and everywhere. So these 1, 2, 3, 4 are all customizable lead statuses now.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, Brett, do you have any questions on the dispo side?
Oh, me?
Yeah, no, you said I was thinking the same thing. Yeah.
Oh, I was excited. No, I don't have any questions on it. I was just going like, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you can technically use it on the dispo side also if you wanted to on the buyers. But we do have something really cool. We're working on the dispo side. It's going to come out end of Q2. It's going to really automate your entire disposition side of the business with the buyer's website. It's something really cool that we're working. I've talked to some other investors that are very heavy on the dispo side, and I've shown it to them, and they've all been pretty excited about that.
One question,
Yeah,
if this isn't the right time to answer, that's okay too. I was just curious about some of the, I think the new KPIs you mentioned, which we can track call times with our team members. Is that rolling out this Saturday too?
No, that because honestly, that's on me. I didn't get time to test it because like I have to test it myself. So even though it's ready, it's not tested. So we decided let's just hold off on it. It's ready for us to go live. You're talking about like call times, your team versus other teams, right? Just sort of like a competitive.
I want to record like a quality conversation. For me, it would be like a 2-minute conversation so that I can go in there and like look at all the calls and see like, you know, what the times look like for our team members talking to sellers.
I mean, you can do that right now in the leaderboard. Is this what you're talking about for each person, their average call duration and total call duration?
Well, like per lead though. So like you can actually see that.
Yeah, I mean, you can do that in the lead. What we're going to be, I mean, in the call logs, what we are going to be doing is not with 3.0, but we have it coming soon where we will add a filter option where you can filter it by the duration of the call also.
Okay. Cool.
So if you only wanted to see calls that are over like 5 minutes long, then you could do that, or calls that are under 30 seconds, or you can kind of see, hey, you know, why do we have so many calls that are less than 30 seconds?
Yep. Awesome.
Okay. All right. And yeah, have you said any sneak peek for the seller website? Yeah, this is what the seller website is going to look like. So when you go right here, you click on website, it's going to open up something like this. And this is what one of my websites that I have live. This is what it will look like. It's fully integrated with your leads. And then there's some other cool features that will be tied in right here. And you can fully customize this, but this is what it'll look like out the gate. Any cities where you're buying properties, you can just add them into your system and it will just keep creating pages for those cities right here. So, and then, you know, about us page, your contact us page, and then your compare page, your FAQs and testimonials. And then this will be one of your REsimpli phone numbers. So if somebody calls or texts this number, it will automatically create a lead. Or if somebody goes in and submits a form on your website, that lead will automatically be created in the system for you. Okay. And one website is going to be included in every single plan, like basic, pro, and enterprise. All right. And this is, yeah, this is something will be going live on Saturday. Sean, are you able to assign a name to the numbers? Yes, you can, Sean. And it's totally free if you just send us, I forgot what it's called, CNAME, I think. So if you just send us an email and just support at REsimpli and just all the phone numbers and say, hey, I want to have a CNAME. I think it's called CNAM or CNAME added to my phone number. So we'll just ask you what name you want to have. You know, we recommend you use a company name. So if you have like, you know, we buy Northwest Indiana houses, so just give us that name. And for most of the phone numbers, we'll be able to add that to your account. Yeah, Jake, the call is being recorded, and we'll put it on our YouTube channel for you to go back and watch the recording. Or if you want to just watch the stream of this, you can just go to our Facebook group, and then it's being streamed live in our Facebook group, so you can just watch it there. And Ricardo has a question, can we have 2 sites? You can have 2 sites, but with this version that we're going live, that we're only going live with 1 template, but you can have, 2 sites, but they'll both look the same. So we're adding additional template once we go live with this one. Make sure it's stable, then we'll add additional template in about a couple of weeks.
Can you show us briefly the edit page where we can edit the website?
Sure. So it's built on WordPress. So if you've ever used a WordPress website, it's built on a WordPress platform. So if you're familiar with any of the WordPress platform, it'll look very similar. Like, so you're going to have a stats page to see kind of your stats for last however many days, where all your traffic is coming from. This will be your content page for your website, where you can upload all the pages that you have. Any testimonials that you want to add, you can just go right here, add it to your testimonial page. We've already added 4 as default, but you can go ahead and edit. This will be your FAQ page, a question for FAQ. And these are also the leads that you've created in the website. So you can also see them here. And these are the cities where you're doing business. All you have to do is just go ahead and add a new city. And then our system will create a page on the website with SEO optimized content. And then if you're going to go ahead and change any design, then you can just go ahead and change it right here. If you want to change the colors, for this, for example, if you want to make it, like this, change the theme color, change the color of the button from red to like green, for example, you can customize. And then if you click on like right here, and then you want to, change this, instead of this, you want to use a form like this, for example.
This is awesome.
Yeah, so you'll be able to do that. And then these are default that we've added, but if you want to change something else, if you want to add something else, like it's a no buyer showing, 5-minute buyer showing something, then you can just go ahead and update that. And then if you want to change the button from get my fair cash offer to something else, you can go ahead and do that. Again, this is just a template that kind of, similar to how I use it in my business, but you can go ahead and customize it kind of based on whatever your business needs are. But this is just out of the gate, this is what it's going to look like. Okay. And again, this is free and this is SEO optimized. So when you go into any of the pages that you have, you'll be able to see which page is like SEO optimized or not. So if you click on about page, like it'll show you, if you hover down, kind of, what the SEO status is. So you can go ahead and update that, and then it'll kind of tell you, hey, my keywords and whatnot. So once you get, like if you're familiar with SEO, you'll be able to manage all of that on the website also. Ricardo, we will be adding some additional templates, like for multifamily, land, and other use cases a little bit later. But right now, this is, you could use it for other purposes also. But like the way we designed this is it's built for single family, like typical investor doing single family 1 to 4 units. And then the other template will be, look a little bit different. The homepage will look very different from this one. And then you will add other templates for land, multifamily, and then the buyers also. Yes, so that's another great question, Taj. I'm glad you asked that. So one of the things we're noticing with 10 DLC is that website, the cell phone carriers are really looking on to make sure your website, you have a website, first of all, if you're registering as a business. So Taj had a question that, will this website be able to get us approved by 10 DLC? Yes. So you want to make sure you have your website. If you just have a domain name right now, you can have your domain name, get that website set up, and get an email address set up through Google or Office 365, and then use that for your 10 DLC registration. We're noticing that the cell phone carriers really want to see the website, and then also your email should match with your web address or your domain name also. So yes, you will be able to use this. And Derek has a question for the wholesale pipeline. Will a lead only go there if you choose wholesale as the dispo method? For instance, if I choose Novation, will it stay in the main pipeline? Yes, Derek. So for now, that's kind of how we created it. Is if you go right here, this exit, if you select wholesale, assignment contract, or wholesale double close, only then it will go in your wholesale pipeline. Anything else that you have right here, it will only stay in the leads part of it and not move it to wholesale pipeline. So, but based on what feedback, I don't do any innovations. I'm not familiar with that at all. But as we get feedback, if we get feedback that, hey, I would also like to see innovation also show up in the wholesale pipeline, if that's kind of what everybody wants to see, then we'll make sure that we make that happen. But the way it's set up right now is it will only push a lead to wholesale pipeline if you select wholesale right here. And you can move it back and forth. If you decided you want to wholesale, but then you decided, you know what, I'm going to keep it as a rental, then it'll stay in your leads, but just get removed from wholesale pipeline. But then you decide, you know what, I get a really good offer, so I'm going to move it back. Then you can move it back by selecting wholesale and move it back there. Okay. And and then Jamie had he posted his phone number if somebody wants to, is doing innovation, if somebody wants to connect with him. Again, I have never done innovation. I don't even understand kind of how it works, so I don't want to speak to it. But I've shown it to some. I've done demo of this, the way it's built with some other investors, and kind of how it's going to function. And if we get feedback where some other exit should be added that should trigger it being moved to wholesale pipeline, then we'll make sure we do that. And just a couple of other things that will be part of the 3.0 is, like, if you're making offers on a property, you will be able to manage multiple offers. So right now you can only manage one offer, but with this update, if you're going back and forth with the seller, if you go back and forth with the seller, then you can keep track of, when was it you made the original offer? When did you hear back from the seller? So it's going to keep track of all the time that's elapsed between the two offers. What type of offer was it? Was it verbal or written? What was the offer? And what was the difference between the offer that you made versus what the seller came back with? So you can keep track of, like, as you started out with 100,000 and the seller wanted 150, but as you're getting closer, it'll keep track of like how the offer is progressing and how much is the difference between your last offer and where the seller is. So you can keep track of all of that. And a couple of other things that will be part of this is, so if you move a property from offer made to under contract, you'll notice there'll be another section called, are there any contingencies in the contract? So you can now keep on top of all the contingencies that you have for a contract, financing, inspection, appraisal. These are the most common. Then we have a section for others. And then this is where it'll show up on your home dashboard also. So for every team member, any lead that they're assigned to will show them if there's any buy-side contingency that are past due in 7 days, due after 7 days, same thing for the sell side. And if you click on any one of them, it'll take you to a list of all the contingencies. So you're like, hey, this was a sell side contingency for financing. It's all good now. You can just mark it up and it's going to get removed from your dashboard. So it'll be part of both buy side and sell side. Contingents will be part of this coming update. Jamie, so what was the question? I also had a quick question. If you delete a number, does it delete the leads associated with that, associated to that number? Are you talking about a phone number that you have been recently? If you delete that?
Yes, I'm talking about that phone number. If
you delete the phone number, it won't delete the lead, but it will remove any campaign. So let's say if I have a lead, for example, this one. So for example, if I have this paper lead other campaign, if I delete this number, it'll just, that campaign no longer exists. So then you won't have any phone number. So you'll have to go in, manually assign. But before you delete a phone number, we will ask you if you want to bulk up, assign all these leads to a different campaign if you want to do that.
Okay, just wanted to make sure that it doesn't get deleted.
No, leads do not get deleted. Like, you manually have to go in and delete a lead. We will not delete any lead. Okay, Hitach, sorry, what was your question?
Yeah, I was just wondering, I'm new to REsimpli, and I'm still getting adjusted to, I guess, the as-is kind of CRM.
Sure.
I was wondering, for the changes that you were saying that are coming next week, what plan are these changes associated with? Will they automatically roll over, or like do we have to upgrade?
Yeah, so they will automatically roll over. So whatever plan, like website, will be included in every single plan. So you don't have to pay anything extra, like regardless of what plan you're on, you will have one website included in every single plan. So you can just go in. All you have to do is just buy a domain from GoDaddy or wherever, Google or wherever you buy it from, and just forward that domain. That's all you have to do. And then you have a website template ready. We suggest that you go in and personalize it, like add your information. And then the dialer is an add-on. So if you want to use a dialer, think of it like a Mojo dialer or Call Do. So if you want to use it, you add it to your account. Otherwise, you don't. And list stacking is included in every single plan. This pipeline, the way it looks right now, will be included in every single plan, and same thing on the wholesale pipeline.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool. All right. So it's great. Any other questions, guys, that I did not answer, or anything related to what I shared, or anything else, kind of what we're doing in our business with direct mail, cold calling, or anything else that I could help you with?
Yeah, sure. I'll just real quick, with the new dialer coming out, is that a single line dialer, or is it going to be like a 3-line dialer?
It's a single line dialer. So with the initial version would be a single line dialer. And when after once we stabilize, make sure we've, considered all the use cases that, we may have missed. Once we do that, then we'll roll out a triple line dialer also.
Okay.
Right. And Roy had a question, does the prices change as well? No. So for anybody that's signed up right now, their prices are locked in. But if you, let's say, for example, cancel and come back, then the prices are going to go up based on the new pricing that's going live this week, I should say. But if you're signed up, then you're locked into the current pricing that we have. Thank you, Dave. And
Hey, oh, go ahead.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, this is a very basic question, because like I said, I'm still trying to just get a feel for
That's
it.
okay,
Do you manage your leads, like every day that you have, X amount of tasks to get done? Do you manage it in this lead section, or do you just solely work out of the task?
Right out, like this is the main thing that I manage for every single team member, that they're expected to clear this out every day.
Gotcha.
Because everything that we have for every team member, it's going to show up right here. Like for me, so what I would do is I would just go into leaderboard, and then it's going to show me for every single team member on one screen. So it'll show me, like for me in this demo account, I have 323 tasks that are passed to you. I have 19 leads that are open that I haven't gotten back to. So it'll show me for every single team member. And then what I would do is I would, if you're doing like a daily call with your team, I would just open this up, and you can hide the revenue and average revenue number. So you can just go right here. If you don't want to share your revenue and average revenue number, you can hide it. And then for everything else, I would just basically go, hey, why do you have 323 tasks to you? But basically, if you tell every team member that their goal is to make sure this is 0 for them every single day at the end of the day, then nothing is going to fall through the crack. And then this is another section I would look at. This is abandoned lead. So as long as this is 0 for you, except really dead leads, that means every single lead that you have in your pipeline is either on a drip campaign or it has a future follow-up task. And then whenever that future follow-up task is due, you don't have to, it's going to pop up right here for whoever it's due for. So then let's say if I have one lead that has a task due in 10 days, I don't have to worry about it right now. 10 days later, when I log in, it's going to increase this number by 1. So it's going to say 324. So then my goal is to make sure it's 0 at the end of the day, every single day, for me and for my team members.
Gotcha. That makes a lot of sense. So you really don't even need to look into the lead section. It's just this screen that kind of keeps you on track.
Exactly. So when we do our daily huddle, I log in right here, and then I just go through and say, all right, I click right here, and I'll say, all right, how many new leads did we get yesterday? So I have a date right here. Let's say today is 21st. And if I had additional lead, so I'll look at, okay, how many new leads did we get yesterday? Where are they right now? Are they in dead lead? And then I can, I can change access of my team member to prevent them from deleting a lead. So this way, everything that, is here, I can see, all right, we got a whole bunch of dead leads. Why is this a dead lead? Then I'll go in, then I'll click on that lead. If it's a dead lead, I'll just review and see why did we move it to a dead lead. And I'll have, it just literally take 10, 15 minutes. But then once the team gets into the habit, for example, the lead that I showed that we closed on, I didn't even get involved. I just gave my team a number that, hey, we need to be at this number in order for this offer to make sense. And my lead manager, she's based in Philippines. She handled the entire process from start to finish. From the time lead came in and to the time she made an offer, she sent an offer from the e-sign. I signed it. She got the seller to sign it. Everything was, her, she managed it. But then what I do is I just manage and make sure all of this is zero for her and for every team member.
Gotcha.
Because what we've done is like we built like tasks that are triggered. So let's say if, we do a lot of fix and flip. So we have tasks built out to the point where if we sell a property, it creates a task for my office manager and my project manager / office manager for her to call the insurance company and then cancel the insurance. Call the utility company and make sure utilities get off her name. If we're buying it as a turnkey property, then there's a task for her to call the property manager to make sure, they register the property with the city that we need to do that. And then we even have a task set up a month after the closing to make sure the insurance check was actually deposited in our bank account. So we have it to that, to that extent. So this way we don't even have to think about, but just say we move a property to the sort, it'll just create all those tasks. And whenever they're due, they'll pop up in the screen.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sure. All right. Sean has is there an integration between REsimpli and Facebook Business Ad? There is. We also use Facebook, we use Facebook Business Ad. You can do it through Zapier and you can integrate directly into REsimpli. So if you have any question, you can email support@REsimpli. So somebody from our team can actually jump on a call and help you with the full integration with Facebook ads or any other integration that you need help with. Cool. All right. So Don, you're talking about the dialer for the basically the single line dialer for prospecting, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, so that's $79 a month with unlimited minutes. So it's basically $79 per user. So think of it like Mojo Dialer or Call Tools, where you have a single line dialer, you pay per agent. That's kind of how it's set up. Okay.
Can that single line dialer and like again, my apologies if you already answered this, but does that single line dialer can you I guess dial through your existing leads? Like let's say I just came from another CRM and I'm in the process of importing about 1,000 leads from that CRM to here.
Right.
Can I get that dialer to have my acquisition person just dial through those leads?
Yeah, so there's a separate dialer that we have, we call it advanced dial. This is what it's going to look like. So let's say if I have my lead, I want to call them. So there is a dialer built in this also. So if I call this lead, for example, it has all the information for the lead pulled up. I can see every conversation that I've had. I can see all the notes that I've left for the lead. So it'll pull up like this, entire lead detail. And let's say once I have my conversation, then I can just say, all right, whatever the outcome of that conversation was, and I can actually text that lead also. So it'll already have an SMS template pulled up. I can just click right here, and then I can just click call next contact. It'll just automatically start dialing the next contact that I have.
Okay.
Number.
How do you get to that version of the dialer?
So this version of the dialer in leads, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is depending on the plan that you're on. It is included for every team member on enterprise plan. But if you are on the pro plan, it's included for one user, the main user. But if you can add it for anybody in your team for $29 a month, and this is what it's going to look like.
How would you go about adding that? Because I've seen this before, because I had a friend that was also on this before joining and switching over to this platform, and I haven't been able to figure that out. I actually have an onboarding call on Thursday with your team, but this has been the thing that's been driving me the craziest for the last week and a half.
Yeah, so if you go into, I'm on the enterprise plan, but if you go into manage user, right? So if you go into your account, go into manage user, and then you click on any user, you will see an option. Sorry, let me see, where would that be? Yeah, so this is where it would be. You see this option for access to advanced lead styler. So if you enable this, then that person will have access to it.
Okay.
Okay, so going to manage user, and whoever you want to give access to, click on their name, click on module permissions, and then by default, it's not granted, but if you want to give them access, you can click right here and they'll have access. So their dialer will look like what I showed you.
Gotcha. And you said that one person gets that by default on the pro version, and that
Yes.
Okay.
For enterprise, every team member will have the advanced dialer.
Gotcha. And if you're on the pro version, you said it's $29 per team member you want to add to it.
Right, pro or enterprise. Yeah.
Perfect.
Pro, one person will get it, but for if you want to add additional, it's $29 a month.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay, sure. Blaine, yeah, Blaine has a question. Would love to see a dialer on the buyer side. We are working on that. There's going to be a massive update coming to the disposition side. Like call it 4.0 or next version of after 3.0. So that we have some big plans on the disposition side. Sean said, looks to me REsimpli can manage leads in any industry, not necessarily wholesaling real estate. It can. I mean, I'll say 90 to 95% of the people that are using our platform are real estate investors, but we have a handful of agents also using their platform. Again, like it's not built like the way we have lead statuses and everything. It's like built for investors. Even our drip campaign and everything is built for investors. But then we have a decent number of agents that are using our platform also. And like especially with the lead customization that we have, they'll be able to get a lot more flexibility on managing that. Yeah, no, I mean, we have other people that are using it for different businesses. Now, he said, Sean said he's a hard money lender. Yeah, we have other people that are using it for, but again, like the way we market it as for real estate investors. But of course, if somebody wants to give us money, we're not going to turn that money down, Yeah. Cool. Any other questions that I did not answer? Awesome. Yeah, again, this will be going live on Saturday. The only reason why it may not go live is we have to make sure our iOS and Android apps get approved by Apple and Google, because there's a big update coming on the apps also, and it all has to go live at the same time. So that's the only reason where it may prevent it, and then we may have to push it to next Saturday. But so far it looks everything is on track. I did a call with my team before jumping on this call. So far everything looks on track. So hopefully Apple or Google don't delay that. So any other questions that I can answer for you guys, or anything else that you want to ask about anything that I'm doing in my business, I'm more than happy to answer. No. All right. And if I can ask you for a huge favor, if you guys got any value out of the call, I'm going to put a link in the chat. If you guys can please go there and then leave us a 5-star review. It takes like less than 30 seconds, but it really helps our team, especially our backend team that, don't get to talk to our users like I do and our support team does. They really get excited about seeing all the reviews, and kind of keeps them excited and motivated to just make sure they keep adding more value to your business. So if you can take 30 seconds, just go there, leave us a 5-star review. That would go a long way to keep our team motivated. Cool. Awesome, guys. Thank you so much. Really, really good call. I'll see you guys next week, hopefully with the 3.0 version. And if you have any other questions, please email us at support@resimpli.com. Thank you, guys.